Good morning to Gary's Graveyard Gramblings. The first one for a few weeks as we come round the south side of the church this morning and say hello to the General. And then we say hello to Anne over there. There she is, bless her. And I'll just pop round. Oh, look, there's Mr. Mole. He's been there overnight. And over there under the tree, of course, is Count Dracula. Now, I came in the south entrance today. I say, Mr. Mole, look, very fresh hills. And yes, you see, and we always have to nod our allegiance, our welcome to, incidentally, do you see how many leaves have come off the oak? The English oak in the yard. Do you know what? I've just noticed, look, I always say there's Count Dracula's sarcophagi, but if you look over there, there's actually a second one under the trees. Ooh, perhaps this is the Bride of Dracula, and that is actually Dracula himself. Who knows? Who cares? Let's go round to say good morning once again to Mr. and Mrs. Owl and the rich derelicts over there in their concrete bunker. Hello. And I'm going to go over and take my usual spot next to John Gilbert. There he is. Now, excuse the rather wonky camera work this morning, because I hadn't intended to do one of these, but suddenly I thought, well, if I don't do it soon, I probably never will. Another reason why is that on entering the church this morning, the churchyard, I noticed a sign on the outside, and it's laminated, so the church means business. And it says that basically the church is closed off for health and safety reasons. Now, obviously, this deity concerned hasn't been able to fix this themselves, so I don't know what the health and safety rationale is for closing the church off to the elderly and confused who go there inside. But probably, I imagine there could be great lumps of masonry dropping upon people's heads inside the church. So let's hope they get it fixed soon, and that the Graveyard Gramblings can carry on from here and not be interfered with scaffolding. Maybe someone's nicked all the lead off the roof. Who knows? Who cares? So I was thinking I owe my younger viewers and those of foreign dispersions an explanation perhaps as to what Peasmoldia and Gruntfuttock actually mean, because these two words are freely used in my social media posts. I'm not sure how many of them I mention on this, but nevertheless, they must be confusing terms. Gruntfuttock, let's cover that one first. Gruntfuttock, J.Peasmold Gruntfuttock, was a character created for the late great comic actor Kenneth Williams, he of the Carry On films fame, by master comedy writers Marty Feldman and Barry Took for the 1960s radio programme Round the Horn, which when I was a child I absolutely loved, because its use of language, its creative language and words, suggestive, full of double entendre, which of course at the age I was back then in 1967-68, I didn't understand. I didn't need to. They just sounded funny to me. And I used to listen to them on a Sunday afternoon on the Light programme, which is where it used to be, and it filled me with joy and so much laughter. So J.Peasmold Gruntfuttock was the archetypal dirty old man, and Williams had this stock character which Took and Feldman built upon, and he was always blinking a lot, and he talked like that, sort of an East London, from Oxton in East London and the Bulls Pond Road, and that was his stock voice. So that's the origin of the word Gruntfuttock. This character was a deeply unpleasant person who used to hang around poke around the ashtrays in the cinemas and interrupt courting couples, and was always saying, "I'd like to get my hands on that Judith Chalmers." As he was supposed to be a dirty, well, he definitely was a dirty old man. You could never get away in today's woke world with creating characters like this. You just couldn't. But it made me laugh so much, and it still does. Peasmoldia was actually the fictional land which J.Peasmold Gruntfuttock, in various forms of despotic leadership, was supposed to be in charge of. And it was a small area of the Bulls Pond Road up as far as the pub and on Buttermold Street or something like that. So a very small area which he had deigned to be his own land, called Peasmoldia. So a little bit of a history lesson there. I don't know why I'm rambling on about this, but look, this is a rambling and it's free. What more do you want? Any road. So that's the explanation of it, and the recordings of this are freely available online if you wish to look for Round the Horn. Now, needles. Now, you didn't see that coming, did you? Needles. Needles have cost me a lot of money in the past 48 hours. Oh, I stretched out then. Well, there is a little bit of the Twilight Zone about this story, really, this rambling, but it just goes to show how much times have changed. Back in those days of the 1960s, in the early days when we had a radiogram, remember them? A stereo, well, I don't think it even was a stereogram, I think it was a monogram, but it was a record player come radio contraption which sat in our front room. You know, the room that nobody goes into except at Christmas and when special visitors are there that you want to impress. So we had one of these, and inside it was a record player with an auto dropper. See, the youngsters, they won't know what I'm talking about here, but, and the Garrard deck had underneath it, like my turntable that I use so much and love with my record collection of the day, didn't have a stylus, but well, he did have a stylus, but we didn't call it a stylus. Stylus, that was for posh people. The Queen probably had a stylus on her record player, or her phonograph or gramophone. But I had a needle on mine, and with these needles, you see, you could either have a sapphire one, what didn't last as long, or a diamond one. Now, of course, the Queen probably would have had diamonds, pearls, styli made out of various pieces of luxury jewellery. Probably her styluses were made by Garrard, no, what's the Royal Aspreys or somewhere like that, you know, from New Bond Street, or Collins from Tunbridge Wells. So that's what she would have had on hers. But ours on our radiogram, once records started to jump and skip and sound terrible, I would have to go up to Barnard's, the record shop in Tunbridge Wells, in Camden Road, and buy a new stylus. Well, I didn't call it a stylus. To me, it was a needle. Yes, a needle. And they probably would have cost upwards of £1. I mean, it was silly money, to be quite honest. Sometimes I would have had to have gone for the sapphire option, but it wasn't pleasing to do so. So, assuming I'd gone for a diamond needle, that would have, you know, set me back at least 2 weeks' pocket money and my paper round money, for which I earned 75 pence a week for getting up at God knows what o'clock hours. Sometimes I'd be up at 4:30 in the morning, ready to meet the van from the station at the paper shop to do my delivery, so I could afford to buy diamonds and sapphires. Now, this week I'd had to replace the needle on my deck in my little music room at home, which I'm always tweeting pictures of. And I was astonished to find that this time, this is the price of inflation. This is how things have got in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The cost of this new stylus was £420. I had to take the whole bloody deck there because in this particular case, the stylus is actually built into the cartridge. So you don't have to actually you can't just unplug the needle. You have to replace the whole shebang. Needless to say, this gave my bank account a right scare. And I felt the need to ramble about this just to get it off my chest. You know, because 420 quid. I mean, for God's sake, that's nearly the price of a McDonald's these days. So, and certainly less even than the price of a fast pass at Universal Studios. Don't even get me onto the subject. The subject? Don't even get me onto the subject of Universal Studios over in Florida. That's for another day. So, two things today then. I've given you the explanation of Peasmoldia, I've given you Gruntfuttock, I've given you needles, which gave me the needle, and I was going to sign off with my usual sign-off salute, Saluté. But in this case, because the church behind me is falling to bits and great lumps are falling off the roof, remember that from the beginning, I shall sign off in a slightly more religious and reverent manner. I shall say I will see you again soon, I hope, and our souls.